The gospel we have today is one of those incredibly rich gospels that there's so much in. And I realized I could talk for an hour and a half and not cover everything I want to cover. But fear not, I boiled my homily down to 45 minutes. So, just kidding. It'll be shorter than that. But in my younger days, there was a song that was very popular that asked a very profound question. The song asked the question, what is love? To which the song responded, baby, don't hurt me no more. Perhaps some of you know the song by Haddaway. It was made popular on various skits and a headbanging move. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. But the question is, what is love? And is love merely that, the response to someone who doesn't hurt us? Well, according to Jesus in the gospel today, no. In fact, love calls us, true love, calls us to love those who do in fact hurt us. And to love even when we get hurt. That love actually opens us up to be hurt, and yet even when we are hurt, it's the call to continue to love. You know, I used to think I was a pretty loving person. That I loved people around me. But then we get a gospel like this. It says, what credit is it for you to love those who love you in return? And I got thinking about my incredible loving self. I began to realize that, everyone I love is because they love me back. Sheesh. And then the question was presented, if this person who you enjoy being around all of a sudden became a real pain to be around, would you still love them? Began to realize that maybe my love was a little more selfish than I realized. And he says, love those who hurt you, love your enemies. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know very many people who run around and can name their enemies, point them out, or who have people they consider enemies. So I like to say the implied commandment in love your neighbors, or love your enemies, is love the annoying and pray for those who drive you crazy. Because everybody has one of those in their life, or a few. To love those who are difficult to love. Because in learning to love them, it helps us to grow in love. St. Therese of Lisieux wrote about, in her story, her spiritual autobiography, she writes about how there was another nun in the convent who was a real pain to love, that she was really annoying, and everything, the way she did everything drove her crazy. Even the way she chewed her food annoyed her. So she said that she went out of her way to show extra love and kindness to this person, exactly because she knew her tendency and her inclination not to show love. And then one day, this nun just turned to her and said, why do you love me so much? And it was this huge moment for St. Therese to realize that God was calling her to love something more, to love in a way greater than what she was herself capable. That it's in loving those who are difficult to love, the annoying, those who hurt us, that calls us to love more, to grow into divine love. St. Jose Maria Escriva used to say, don't say that someone annoys you, say they sanctify you. Because in them annoying you, it's an invitation for you to love and grow in sanctity. Now, when I was in seminary, a lot of people used to tell me, Kevin, you really sanctify me. I used to think it was quite the compliment. Now I'm not so sure. So, we sanctify a lot of people ourselves sometimes, and learning to recognize that. So I began to realize that maybe I'm not such a loving person, and maybe my love is mostly selfishly driven, and I just love those who love me back. And to love those who go out of their way to hurt me even, that's a call to love that I know I'm not there yet. And knowing I wasn't there yet, when I was a confirmation student, I took as my patron St. Stephen, the witness, St. Stephen the martyr. Because for those of you, some of you may know the story, Stephen, his story is in Acts of the Apostles, that he was preaching to the people about Jesus Christ, and in response they dragged him out into the outside and stoned him to death. But as he was being stoned, as people were throwing these rocks at him with the intention of killing him, he prayed for them. He loved them. He said, God, do not hold this sin against them. Just like Jesus on the cross, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That in the midst of being brutally tortured and people intending on hating him so much they wanted to kill him, that he was even able to love even then. That's heroic divine love that I know I'm not there yet. Because I don't know about you, but if someone starts throwing rocks at me, my first inclination is not to love and forgive them. It's to pick up a bigger rock and throw it right back at them. Show them I can dish it right back out. And it also goes on to say in the story of St. Stephen that there was a man there watching approvingly as this was happening. And that man's name was Saul. Later, Saul would be traveling down a road to Damascus with the intention of arresting and killing a few more Christians. When, of course, as we know the story, Jesus appears to him and said, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And he had a conversion. And of course, he became the great apostle St. Paul. But even though Paul never explicitly says it in any of his writings, I have to believe that the witness of Stephen, who showed love even in the point of when he was being murdered, that witness of profound love had a profound impact on Paul for the rest of his life. That witness of love. That love isn't something sappy or weak that we often reduce it to, or something merely sentimental or chocolatey on St. Valentine's Day. But it's something heroic, something that comes from a place of deep strength. And that when St. Paul wrote that famous line in 1 Corinthians about love, that he wasn't merely just talking about how husbands and wives should be together, even though they certainly should be, as we often read it at weddings. But that those words, that love is patient, love is kind, love bears all things, love does not keep a record of wrongs, but it bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. And I can't help but wonder that it was that witness, St. Stephen, who loved even those who hated him and had intention to kill him and hurt him. That witness was what Paul was thinking of as he was writing those words. That's divine love. That's the divine love that each and every one of us are called to, invited to. A love that is impossible for us, but with God, we are given the capacity to grow in a love, to love in a way beyond what we ever thought we were capable. Because this is the love that transforms people around us, that transforms our neighbor and our community. This is the love, to live with this divine love, the love that can transform the world.